Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
I mean, I was just my normal weird self. Like the first thing I said before we even played a note was like, does anybody know what Steve Miller from the Steve Miller Band looks like?
What's happening? Merry Christmas. Merry day after Christmas. This is Hyphenate not Hyphenate Halftime. Oh, I'm so tired. This is the Hyphenate show with me, your host, Randy Randall, where I, myself, a hyphenate of sorts, as in a multi-hyphenate, somebody who does many things. I am a guitar player, and now I host a podcast, and I do a million other things on any given day. And I am not ashamed to admit that. I do many things. And I interview other people who are also not ashamed to admit that they've done many other things. And today on this episode, I am very lucky and very fortunate to welcome my guest, David Pajo, a veritable jack of all trades, a man who's not ashamed, not afraid to do many, many different things. He has played in so many bands. And, all within the music context, I should say. He's one of these kind of Renaissance mans. He's played in Stereolab. He has played in Slint, I think was kind of what people would probably first know him from his, being a founding member of the band Slint. And then, a million other bands. I think he's toured with, now Gang of Four. He's on the road with. He was in the Billy Corrigan, Indie Cred, Hail Mary, Zwan. He has been, I think, in 10 different other bands. I can't even list them all here. We talk a lot about it in there. But when I think of people who are multi-hyphenates, Dave Pajo is one of those guys. He's kind of, a modern session player, but more than that, a touring member and just lifelong creative individual. Oh, I forgot his solo band, or his band that he is here ostensibly to promote, Papa M, which has been his nomenclature, sort of the nom de plume of his solo works. He has a new record, The Ballads of Harry Houdini, out now on Drag City Records. It's available for LP purchase, MP3 download, or FLAC download. Look at that, all from dragcity.com /products /Papa M, or Ballads of Harry Houdini. But you just go Google Papa M. Go Google Ballads of Harry Houdini. I first bought, he has a few different, Live from a Shark Cage, I think is what I had. The first Papa M record. But then he also had Ariel M, which was a different band. He's had a lot of other names kind of in the solo world, or also just Pajo under his last name. I didn't even get to talk to him about his Misfits covers record. We'll have to save that one for the next time. But Dave Pajo, sort of indie music superstar. Figured go out with something really exciting and really fun. It was such a blast for me to sit down and interview him. I've talked to him a handful of times here and there, passing at shows, parties, social engagements, and other places, and could not be a nicer person on the earth. He's very down to earth, and for all of his accomplishments musically, he probably deserves the right to be far more of a jerk. But you're not going to find that here. Not with Mr. David Pajo. Very nice, very generous person with his time. We recorded it. I think he recorded it from his phone, from his home. So there's a little bit of background noise. We tried to get it put together as best we could, and it sounds good. But there is a bit of a hiss you'll hear behind it. But hey, we can roll with that. It's the day after Christmas. I hope everybody had fun. I hope you got what you wanted for Christmas. More importantly, that you gave others what they wanted. If you were able to get that gift for somebody that just made their day, that's always a great feeling. More important than whatever it is you get. I myself, what did I got a good deal on a 4-pack of socks, gold toe, white, medium length socks. One of my favorite socks. It's a real treat, entered that phase of dad life. But got the kids so much fun stuff. They were beyond excited. So that was really just, it never ceases to amaze, just that the power of Christmas with young children. I mean, just really puts it all into focus, and it's been fun having all the fun Christmas events and things, going to see Santa at the mall and get the hot cocoa and driving around, looking at lights, listening to songs. It's a fun time of year. I hope everyone here is doing well, and reach out to your friends. We've still got a few days off. We're in the weird nether region where time does not really exist. It is a myth from December 26th through, January 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, wherever you land back into your previously on life. We are now entering the the void in which time has no meaning. So be well as you float through your streaming services and from couch to bed and bed to couch, and maybe go outside and see the trees, see the birds, see the sky, and then back to hibernation. You are fully you're fully off the hook for doing that. Don't worry about being lazy for the next week. It's the one time in life we've all agreed everyone can just be lazy and do whatever the hell they want to do. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is fun. I'm stoked. We are halfway through the second season. It's been fantastic. Thank you everybody for coming along this journey with me, and I'm looking forward to 2025. More exciting podcast adventures to come. Thanks for joining me here. Again, if you feel so inclined and in your spirit of generosity, leave a review for this wherever you're listening to it. It really does help. Somehow the greater algorithm gods have deemed it a positive thing if you give your podcast good reviews, and turn on automatic downloads or follow or whatever it is you do. If you're excited about it, tell your friends, let them know. And you can find me at Randy S. Randall on the Instagram. And go find Dave Pajo. Go to dragcity.com to get the new record, Ballads of Harry Houdini. You can also find him on Instagram at, it's French. I don't know. Just Google David Pajo and find him there. It's Cestca. I think this sounds like something French. And then David Pajo, DavidPajo. I think I'm imagining, if I had to guess, it would mean I am David Pajo. Cestca. And then David Pajo, DavidPajo. And there you will find information about the record and the tour and the merch and the things that you do. Oh no, I can't go into that impersonation anymore. Follow David on his journey and all of the rad music that he makes. All right, without further ado, here is the interview with somebody I never thought I'd get to meet. I was a big Slint fan from wee kid, annoying baby brother vibes when I was too young. I would have these records on mixtapes or on, or just dubbed tapes on my Walkman. And to get to sit down with David Pajo has been a real treat and a real kind of closing of a circle of bands who've 100 million% influenced me and become part of my own musical DNA. So thank you, David, for making all the great music. And here's to more music and more adventures in the new year. All right. Take care, everybody. See ya. David Pajo, thanks so much for coming on Hyphenate. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Good. It's good to see you. You have a new record out on Drag City.
That's right, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's under the name Papa M, which I've been doing for a long time now. But it's called Ballads of Harry Houdini, which I actually thought of putting a sticker on it that says contains no ballads of Harry Houdini.
No ballads were harmed in the making of this record.
Yeah. Contains, because it is false advertising. I just thought it was a cool album title, but it was there. Yeah, it has nothing to do with Harry Houdini.
But I mean, that's apropos. As a sort of a man of mystery and the paranormal and the illusion.
Right.
Yeah.
I've always liked him for sure. Yeah.
That it brings to mind that sort of an era and a time and a place and a certain distrust for reality. Maybe.
Yeah, and he was kind of the first, just sort of like hype man. He knew how to hype Houdini, and like he made himself a household name. Right. In addition to his crazy stunts.
That's amazing. I don't know a lot of the history of it, but it's right up my alley. I mean, that's probably not even his real name. Was that an invented name?
Oh, it's an invented name. Yeah,
okay.
He got it's. It just kind of, it was a mixture of different magicians, I think, but he has a pretty interesting life. It's worth checking out.
I know living here in LA or in the Hollywood area for years, it was always like, this house used to belong to Harry Houdini. I think there's about 47 different houses.
Oh wow!
So like for a period of time, it was either like Charlie Chaplin used to live here or Harry Houdini used to live here.
That's right.
Every party I went to for a good 5 years there, it was like either a Chaplin house or a Houdini house.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I guess that's an LA thing because I still feel new to LA. In the sense that I haven't discovered a lot of stuff. It seems like people who have grown up here or like, born here or lived here their whole lives, like it's just all normal to them. Like things like that to me, which is super fascinating.
Yeah, it's a funny place to be from because there's always something weird around the corner. But again, after a while, it just becomes like, starts to feel commonplace.
Are you from here originally?
I grew up out near a small town east of here in near to Pomona. This town was called Walnut. It was right near Pomona, which where the Glass House is and the Fox.
Right. Well, you're basically here. I mean, that's like that you've seen it from the 90s in the 80s probably on. So
yeah. I had two older brothers who were really into music and skateboarding and stuff, and so I got to be the little tag along brother for a lot of years. My older brothers were about closer to your age, born in 68 and 69, the two of them, and then I was born in 81, so I was kind of the little annoying brother that tagged along to everything.
I really, that's my favorite thing about Stranger Things is like the older brother turning the younger brother on to the Clash and stuff.
Oh, right,
because that is older brothers are what made, it turned all of us onto punk and cool shit,
Yeah. Did you have older brothers?
I had one older brother, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And he was definitely into punk and stuff, and I was like the metalhead. But I liked his stuff. I thought it was funny. I just, like Dead Kennedys, but I didn't think of them as like real musicians.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
So he was the punk, and then you were like, no, we got to get some arpeggiated,
Yeah, totally.
Wild solos.
I was totally the snobbish, like, that stuff's great and it's really funny. I like that they say curse words, but they don't know how to play.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
What a dick. Yeah.
Well, what was your introduction to metal? How did that take a hold of you?
I think it was just the radio, I I like ZZ Top and stuff like that. And then I just I just liked harder stuff and started getting the Iron Maiden EPs, I'd go to the import section, because that seemed like where all the cool stuff was.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. That's a whole different thing. Yeah. So even pre Van Halen, like, is that sort of world? Like, I always think there was in terms of metal, there's always a pre Van Halen, post Van Halen.
Oh yeah.
That's too big of a line, but
yeah. For metal, I mean, I always I guess Van Halen seemed like hard rock and stuff. Like once you got into Iron Maiden and stuff, it was
sure.
Like Motorhead. It was like, now you're into metal.
Got it. Well, I think when you were talking about the radio, I was trying to think, what metal is on the radio? So I was thinking that Van Halen sort of crossover stuff as well.
Right.
I was imagining that.
I guess that was the radio was like gateway stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. And then when did you first pick up a guitar, or was it a guitar you first picked up, or how did you start playing?
Drums. I started playing drums I would save the Baskin Robbins like gallon cartons, and I'd build a drum set with that. And then my mom finally broke down and got me a drum set when I was 13.
Whoa!
And which is how Eddie Van Halen started. And then at 14 I got a guitar and just was better at that. Like I just picked it up faster.
Did your brother play music as well? Your older brother, was he jamming?
He played guitar too.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, and he had an electric guitar, and I would play on it, but it was his. I couldn't touch it.
What kind of guitar was it?
It was a Yamaha. It was great.
Oh, okay.
And
like a Strat copy kind of Yamaha, or what was?
No, it was like it was almost like an Epiphone kind of copy.
Ooh, okay.
It was, but I think it was really similar to Uriga Music War.
Yep.
Almost everybody in that one seems to play the same guitar. I think they just borrowed one guitar, because all the bands have. I forgot what kind of guitar it is, but it kind of looks like that one. It's I forgot. I think it might even be
like a semi-hollow body kind of thing.
Maybe it was. Yeah, I can't remember now.
I'd have to look into it. Yeah. It's always, I'm always just so curious about on gear, where that first sort of thing. Because my older brother had a Strat, like a
nice.
Sunburst Strat, but then he also had this kind of like a Tiesco, kind of Japanese copy sort of thing. And that's what I inherited was these kind of 60s.
Oh, you got
70s.
both of them.
Well, eventually, yeah. But the first, the Tiesco, kind of thing, or it was so funny. And it was, big chunky neck and action about an inch and a half off the neck.
Yeah, impossible
to grab
play.
it. But I loved it. It was still so funny. It was mine. It was perfect for just plunking out one or two notes as I learned. That is the coolest. I mean, your first guitar is a Tiesco is. I mean, I think I have one right here that I love. They're great guitars. Are you able to get it to play? Could you get the action low
enough? Yeah. I had to put a new nut in and stuff. But,
It's one of those things. There is a guitar under there somewhere. You just kind of have to.
It's true.
Apply a little DIY engineering to it.
And now that I think about it, I had to take it all completely apart and disassemble it.
Yes, that sounds about right. That's the best way for it to play great. Yeah, because it had the whammy bar sort of thing with just a spring in it, so it never stayed in tune. Well, kind of a strange vibrato bar that just was like, oh, you're screwed as soon as you touch it. The whole thing. Right. It's worse than a Floyd Rose, which are almost useless. Anyway.
This one.
Yeah.
I put a Strat decal on it.
There we go.
So it's actually a Tiesco. But,
yep, exactly. Same style, one pickup. That's perfect. Yeah, but was that stop bar tailpiece thing? That probably was where it was. Did it look like was that new? The stop bar tailpiece?
No, that was on it, but I lucked out because I definitely didn't want like a tremolo bridge because
you probably know. Do you have any sweet like big whammy bar things for a metal guitar setup with a locking nut and all that?
Not with locking nut, but I have like do you know Vegatrem? They make they make drop-in replacements, but it has the range of like a Floyd Rose, not quite as wide as a Floyd Rose, but you can do all the dive bombs and stuff, and you don't need locking tuners. It's just it'll
stay.
Yeah. That's when I want that kind of like Van Halen stuff, like, which I still do all the time. I still do all that stuff, but in the privacy of my own home.
There it is. Yeah. That's so fun. Have you ever jammed with Rivers Cuomo from Weezer? Did he ever cross into your world? I know he's a metal guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's was one of those kind of secret metalheads that I think sort of figured out, like, I'm never going to be popular playing metal now post Nirvana, and then figured out how to I think
that's so funny.
He used his sort of songwriting alchemy to reinvent the cars in the alternative world.
Yeah, like once Nirvana came along and the Pumpkins, like it just kind of squashed all that hair metal, like in a funny way. Like all those guys were like, "What? Now I have to not play so good."
I mean, it's an incredible time. I think now post mortem, kind of looking at it through, shifting through the ashes of one scene into another, and who survived and who didn't. There was who was I hearing? Somebody was talking about. It's like the bands with good songs still survived. You know what I mean? There was a lot. If you had a good sense of melody and you could really write songs,
totally,
even if it was hair metal or whatever, you could come out the other end of it. But a lot of the preening and prompting and catwalking and the Olympic athlete guitar stuff didn't necessarily survive as well.
Right. And yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I went through that like shredder to non-shredder phase, but I did it like, I think I started getting into that in like 1984. Like after I was able to, I could do some of the Yngwie Malmsteen stuff, I could kind of fake my way through some of that. Mm-hmm. And then like at some point when I was playing with this pre-Slint band, Maurice, I think, I feel like I was listening to the Minutemen, just listening to different styles of music, and I was like, this shit is so tacky. Like my playing is so tacky. I never want to play like that again. And so I went total anti-guitar where I like, if they would, if it was like, oh, and then we'll do a chorus and then you take a solo, I'd be like, okay, I'll take a solo. And it would be, I'll be like, I'm going to play a one note solo, or I'm just going to get feedback for the entire solo or something,
Yes.
I just wanted to do the opposite of what a shredder would do from then on.
even though you knew what was possible, or you had the precursor. You had some awareness of it. Yeah, chose the other direction.
Which also kind of aligned with all the with what I was, because I got into also it's so weird. Like when I was getting into punk rock, I was also like, I was raised Catholic and stuff. I was also getting into Eastern religions and things.
Yeah. Okay.
So like so at the same time that I was like kind of going through this devolution of my guitar playing, where I was learning to play worse, I was also reading about like, these gurus were saying stuff like, you should as a musician, you should spend 7 years learning your instrument, and learning the technique inside and out, and then you should spend 7 years not playing your instrument. And then when you pick it up again, you'll have 7 years life experience, and you'll have some of the technique, and then you can start playing from the heart. And so I was kind of learning that. So I was like in my anti-guitar phase, I was learning to not play guitar, and with Slint and everything, I was trying to not play guitar. Like as far as like the shredding stuff. And I was talking about this with Albini in like 2022. I guess I sort of confessed that I was that I would practice 9 hours a day when I was 15, and I would complain if I only had 6 hours a day, and all summer long, when I should be chasing girls and stuff, or trying to talk to girls, it was, I was doing that, and he was like, oh, you were a sofa shredder. And I was like, what? He's like, a sofa shredder. I was like, oh yeah, I totally just sat on the sofa and shredded.
That's amazing.
And he said, he was like, I purposely use the heaviest gauge strings I can use so that I don't accidentally bend a string. And I was like, I use the heaviest gauge too with Gang of Four, but it's for the same reason. Like I don't need to bend strings and stuff, I got,
it's hilarious.
Because it's just about, I just don't want to break strings. So it's, it's like, it was just funny,
It's incredible. I mean, I think that's what's so interesting is I think so many people, there's so many points of entering into a musical conversation or a musical development with yourself. And, and as a father, you see your children like, that's where you're getting into music? Okay. But it doesn't mean you're not going to end up somewhere else. I think I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they surprise me constantly with just, and especially with the rise of streaming and everything is available at your fingertips. You don't even have to go to record stores and take a chance or roll the dice on anything. It's just like, listen to this. Listen. We have the fart soundtrack of, or Super Mario Brothers all done with MIDI farts. It's like, great. 10 hours a day. Perfect.
Right. Oh yeah. How old are your kids?
10 and 5.
Oh shit!
Or 11 and 5, just turned 11. Yeah,
great ages, and you will get all the crazy YouTube stuff. Because I remember my son being like, he would have like, there'll be 10 hours of this one meme, like 15-second loop over and over for like 10 hours, and it was funny, but I was like, man, why would you ever want that looping for 10? But
I'd be talking about like a Stockhausen sort of thing where it's just this like constant looping thing, but it's also, I just think it's an ability for us, I think, as musicians to see how a young brain operates. That earworm in its most pure id form, you know, where there's no intellect. There's no intellect. There's no socialization. This is just like right to the heart of like your lizard brain, that primordial brain, which I think, you know, has a lot to be said, you know, as, you know, to developed ears, there's a lot to learn from that. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, if you can really tack into something as a songwriter or as a performer, or as somebody who works with other artists, it's like, it's good to remember that, like simple, dumb, big nursery rhyme hooks usually win the day, no matter how sophisticated everybody thinks they are.
I mean, I've always felt like you just articulated it really well. Like it's my kids, like having kids is always compelling because it's like everything that they're attracted to comes from a pure place like that, you know, because it's less socialized, like you said, and it's and I don't know. So I tried to get my kids into music, and they, you know, but just kind of gently, just leaving instruments around and always playing and stuff, so that maybe lead by example. But my daughter never got into it. She tried sort of, but my son is now into it, and it's funny because he's learning guitar, like these same songs that I learned from, like the Maiden songs, the same Metallica songs and stuff. Like, it's crazy. Like so metal is his gateway as well right now. But
that's incredible. Yeah, I've tried playing or showing my son the Enter Sandman riff. He wanted to learn Metallica. I was like, I think this, you know, it's you got to really squeeze the strings. You know, that's the first riff. It's within 30 seconds, you know, or 5 minutes, you know, somewhere in there. He played it right once, and that was enough to be like, oh, I want to do it again. I want to do it. You can do it. You know, you can.
Oh, that's super cool.
You can get it by accident, but you can if you do. But then it's enough of a carrot to keep trying.
Yeah, it's so weird to me because I never felt like I guess I went through that phase, but I just did it by myself. I didn't have a dad to encourage me, you know, like I just, you know, if there was anything with a string on it, I would just start noodling with. So yeah, I guess you're attracted to what you're attracted to. Like,
it's interesting you say though too. I mean, the learning and the unlearning, and obviously, you know, with a band like Slint, you know, it almost feels like there's something of an abstraction, you know, that and it's kind of a minimalist. You know, I think there's a million titles, you know, that have been applied to the music of Slint. But what attracted you? Was there something socially, you know, at that time, or was it musically, or how did that sort of band form, and where did you find your sort of place in it?
Well, Britt, the drummer, and I were in a band called Maurice before Slint, and we it was a really extreme, like the singer described us at the time. He'd say we sounded like Void, Metallica, early Metallica, and De Kreutzen. But like early Metallica was the only Metallica around in '85. You know, it was still early Metallica. But and those three bands like are what we sounded like. It was crazy. It was a really good because it was just this weird mix of bizarre time signatures but super extreme metal. Really, not really progressive sounding though either. But anyway, we went from this really extreme stuff, and I started playing with the clean sound from do the Minutemen. I got a Strat instead of a Flying V, and started using like the neck pickup and stuff. And the band broke up because it was like what are we going to do with these kind of songs now? And so, but Britt and I wanted to keep doing stuff, and but I'd been talking to my best friend in high school, this Ethan Buckler, about like how much we hated the music scene at the time. We're like, these out of town bands are moving in. They sound like they're just generic punk rock. You know, they sound shitty and all this. There's these straight edge bands forming and they sound shitty. And so we're like, we need to form a band that's totally different from everything else. Just doesn't sound like any of these other bands. And I told Britt, I was like, you should talk to Ethan because like he wants to start this band, and they hit it off right away. And then that was Slint, like me, Britt, and Ethan. And then Brian McMahon joined later on second guitar, and because I replaced him in Maurice. He wrote a lot of those Maurice songs, and it was, Brian McMahon was a big influence too, because when I replaced him in Maurice, the riffs weren't hard to play, ones that he played, actually some of them were really hard because there was all bar chords, but it would be done, he would do them super fast, like it should be done like single notes, but he would do them all bar chords super fast. But so I guess like he showed me that you could write really cool riffs and you didn't have to be a shredder. Like that's like people like that, like Brian was a big influence, Britt was a big influence. Like I think it was in this band called Malignant Growth from Louisville was a big influence. Brett Ralph, do you know Brett Ralph?
I don't.
Oh, he's a Louisville guy. Okay. Yeah, he runs a record shop called Surface Noise. It's really good if you're ever there.
I feel like for all of my years of touring, I don't think we ever played Louisville.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm trying to think where, Cincinnati and, St. Louis and, Nashville, but I don't know for some reason.
Yeah, it always gets overlooked. That's not surprising, to be honest. Like it's just, it's a weird town, and there's not, I think it's just, it's so weird because there's not always an audience there for like there will be in Cincinnati and other like surrounding states or even Lexington.
We played Lexington. Yeah, I was just gonna say. I was like, where's the horse? The horses. I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
That's we played Lexington, and that's what my wife lived in Lexington when she was a kid growing up.
Oh man! Wow.
And so it was funny. Yeah, when we went through on tour, I remember we stayed at a hotel near the horse races, and she's like, "You got to go by the house." So I went by, took pictures.
Oh, that's super cool. But
yeah, so I'm trying. So, but it's interesting, to think of Slint. It's almost that anti-music in some ways, or it was a reaction to so many other things that sort of created this sort of new sort of space. I think really for music at that time. I mean, did it feel like you fit in with other bands that you were playing with at the time, or what else was happening there? That did it seem like it was? How was it meant at the time?
There was most people actually were not into it because
it's not surprising. I mean, not because it wasn't good, but because again, I think that's kind of what I was asking. Is it seems like there wasn't really a context for it.
It was we played at the Pyramid Club in 1989 in New York, and the band that played before us was called, I think I've told this story before, but it was called Slaughterhouse, and the singer set his hair on fire, and they had two girls playing bass without shirts. And I'd kind of like to hear them now, actually. They had all these TVs with bestiality and shit eating going on. And, that was the first band. And so we came up there with our Izods and our khaki shorts and our socks pulled up. And we were like college kids, like suburban middle class college kids. And Brian was like scrubbing the mic with bleach because it smelled. The singer vomited, and it smelled like burnt hair on stage and stuff. We were real, just like sanitizing the stage.
Gnarly.
And we came up there and played our set, and then afterwards I went to the bathroom. When I was at the bar. I heard this girl talking to her friend about Slint. She was like, "Did you see Slint?" And she was like, "Yes." And he was like, "What did you think?" He was like, "They were too young and too clean." So I think that's what we were. We like people wanted dirty guitar. They wanted, distorted guitar, loud and in your face, and confrontational music. And we were like, these nerds, effeminate nerds.
The indie college rock scene hadn't really, taken over. Again, that's that line of pre-Nirvana, post-Nirvana sort of world.
Yeah, I mean, there was still a lot of machismo, I think, and both metal and punk, and we had zero machismo.
That was not what was going for you. It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I definitely were in high school. This is now mid '90s, late '90s. I remember listening to Slint and getting Spiderland and
wow,
and making I'd make copies from friends. I had a little cassette Walkman and I would listen to it, and I remember it was the joke at school where the other kids were like, "What are you listening to?" And they would just like pick up my headphones and like put them on and like, "What is this?" And I was like, I remember it'd always just be like Man, like I don't get you. Without fail, there were going to be something that could. But there was a thing like I didn't even know how to make fun of it. Like I couldn't even. It wasn't like I was listening to My Little Pony soundtracks or something. But I think that was kind of the question mark was just like, what are you doing?
It was just a question. They're ripping off the headphones like, man, you're just weird.
Exactly. Yeah, just to fuck with me. Yeah, there was one girl I remember. At one point she asked, "What are you listening to?" I said, "Oh, it's Scratch Acid. It's this band from Texas. They went on to become kind of was giving my pitchfork review, and she was." So for years it was, or at least for the rest of that year, it was like, oh man, Randy, Scratch Acid. How's that Scratch Acid? How's that going? It just became my nickname.
Became a running joke.
Yeah, like, oh,
how's that Scratch Acid treating you?
Yeah, what do you got with that Scratch Acid? You're always over there with the Scratch Acid happening, and it was one of those things. But to me, by that point, it felt like it was a point of pride. Like, totally. We had a college. The Claremont colleges weren't too far from our little area, and there was a Rhino Records there, and KSPC was the college radio station. And I remember sitting by the radio. We could barely get it in, on the little clock radio, and writing stuff down like Blonde Redhead, Olivia Tremor Control. Like, okay,
that's so
these
cool.
are things that, and then I'd go and I'd take my list into Rhino Records and like, okay, I'm looking for something like this, and go and like, well, we have this Blonde Redhead 7-inch. It's like, sounds good. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to, for $5, let's take a chance on something, and just discovered a whole other world of music.
Man, I forgot about college radio because when I was in college, my roommate was a college radio DJ, but he had the late night shift, and it was so much fun. Like, we'd just go to the radio. I'd get on the radio show, and we'd just get drunk and like play everything I wanted, and if we played something we didn't like, we just smash the record and just throw it against the wall. Radio, like college radio was fun. Like,
oh my God.
It was wild, kind of like Wild West radio.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a listener growing up in Southern California, if I could get KXLU in, if I was close enough to the west side and coming into town, then I could, that was always a treat. There was something different, something wild.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, long lineage of, Southern California college radio. But it was a vital avenue of doing music and music discovery, I think, for a lot of the kids in the suburbs.
Right.
In that kind of way. I mean, and it still exists. I mean, it's been funny, with my band No Age. Whenever there's an opportunity to do college radio, and even for my solo stuff, I'm always like, yes, let's go. I just love the smell
Me too,
of it.
yeah.
And just getting in there, just getting in. It's like, I don't know if anyone's listening to this.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. It's just more of a fun detour and adventure to go in and just see all of the PSAs. Don't say this, don't say that.
Yeah.
And the gear is always like somewhere from the 70s.
Totally.
It all kind of smells like a library, and it's tons. The CD walls that go on forever. I'm like, this is great.
I haven't been in a college radio. Like I would, are they still the same like that? Because that sounds great.
Yeah, or at least KSPC, the one out in Claremont it's down in a basement. I've played live on there a couple of times. It's a great room. And then KXLU, yeah. I mean, same. Have you been out to KXLU? It's on Loyola Marymount, out near the beach, right by LAX.
Been to either, no.
Oh my God! All right, it'll be fun. You should definitely, if you while promoting this record, if you have the opportunity. Yeah. Again, it's one of those just kind of fun detours. You get nothing out of it except when you get to walk down, kind of memory lane in some ways.
But do you play on air and stuff?
Yeah, I've played on air
full
on
band,
both of those things. Dean always hated the way his voice sounded for those kinds of things where it's like like you're talking into like a kind of like a presenter mic. So there's there's no room atmosphere. It's like a DI kind of mic.
So that's right. Yeah.
He's always tripping out on that. Where the rest of the band sounds like they're in a room together on a boombox, and then the vocals are always way too loud and way too dry. But yeah, we've done lots of different stuff, and weirder things like that.
That's so cool. Yeah, got to do a college radio tour only. Yeah, only the college radios.
Yeah, just to go out there and hit them up. Yeah, especially it's always fun to do. Yeah, I know. I've made it a point just because it just scratches that itch of my own nostalgia of it all. It's like, yes, if you have a weird dusty room with angry older people,
I know. I want to go there. I do. Yeah, I forgot like all the little signs and stuff of things you can't say. Yeah, I do like the vibe up there. I mean. Yeah, but it's definitely nostalgia for me because I had a lot of memories, and I feel like if you, even when I was in Europe, I like to do like any radio stuff, I don't know why I just like being in radio stations.
Yeah, I feel like they might have a little bit more subsidized sort of things there,
Right.
Yeah, I feel like Australia too. We did a few things in Australia radio that sort of still seem to matter down there.
Right.
Or yeah. But again, it's any chance to do it. It always just feels fun. There's an excitement to being on, like, it's live, it's happening now.
Yeah. It's, I mean, that's so cool. And I mean, somewhere I have like cassettes of, Ariel M and, on radio show in Amsterdam or something,
Yeah.
And I'd love to dig all that stuff up,
Yeah. At least just put it out there in some form, even if it's just on streaming. I have a great, I found, in the blog, audio blog digging days, a great interview of Don Van Vliet of Captain Beefheart, like later in the kind of, I think early 90s or mid 90s. And it's great. And he's just talking with this Dutch, DJ, and it's kind of an interview out of nowhere, and just hearing his voice. And there was a great quote like, "You would come up with these names." I can't do a good Dutch accent, but you come up with these names for these musicians. Why was that? He's like, "Well, I called it," and I can't do Don either, but he was a mascara snake because he wore mascara, and he was a snake. And he was like, "Okay,
oh
great."
No way!" he's actually like.
Breaking down
his lyrics,
or yeah, exactly, or the members of the band. Like he would name every member of the Magic Band. They had to get re-identified. They were kind of part of his cult sort of hypnosis, I think, of like remove your old self and be reborn to the Magic Band. Anyway.
That's so cool.
So
I love stuff like that.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I feel like, it doesn't exist the same sort of way. Maybe it's moved on to podcasting or other weird forms of things. Quick, quick bite-sized TikToks. So where do you go post Slint? Now it's the world has sort of changed in some ways, or has it? Where do you find yourself post Slint?
Post Slint. Well, I guess after Slint broke up is when like grunge and all that stuff hit, because we broke we broke up before Spiderland came out, and Spiderland came out, I think, like a month or so, like a couple of weeks before Nevermind. Wow. So, but we were already broken up by then. I remember getting a copy of the record and just almost throwing it away, just being like, because I was so, I guess I didn't realize how disappointed I was with the band breaking up. But I was just like, this is, we were supposed to tour. We were supposed to have this band was supposed to go on for a while. This is our first record for Touch and Go. It's supposed to be the
big deal.
And then we broke up, and like, I guess I was disappointed. But we were all still friends, and we immediately started, helped Ethan with King Kong. Like we all played on this first single, and
I
immediately
King
helped
Kong.
Will.
Old Man on the Bridge. I had that as a tape. I listened to it for years.
Man. I love
another one of those things. Yeah, people would ask me, "What are you listening to?" It's like King Kong, Old Man on the Bridge. You want to listen? Here you go.
Oh, that's a deep cut too, because that is King Kong. Like Old Man on the Bridge, that's the real King Kong to me.
Oh my god, the scatting, heba heba haba the ho.
Yeah,
it's so fun. That was like almost. I felt like that was in tradition of Minutemen. You know what I mean? That was that kind of like where it was like funk and it was kind of straight and kind of goofy, but it was also punk in such a cool way. You know what I mean? These were these kind of power anthems, like in the way those Minutemen songs were anthems.
I think people forget that all the punks like to dance. I was like Ian MacKaye loves to dance.
Sure,
like
go-go.
He was go-go, and like all the Gang of Four guys are dancers,
Absolutely.
Ethan wanted to form a dance band. He was so disillusioned after Tweez. He just was like, wanted
Pendulum swings.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he wanted to form like a bluesy dance band, and he did it, King Kong actually started off as a fanzine. A one-page fanzine, which I have a copy of, and I still read it every once in a while because it's so funny.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like his manifesto for what ended up being King Kong. That's pretty much what happened after Slint. It was like Will Oldham's music, straight into Ethan's music, and just like we all got into all the Louisville music at that time, and then I went to England for a while, and studied art, and because I was like, maybe I should just go in, I didn't bring a guitar or anything. I went to England for a year and just went to art school thinking I was, maybe I want to be an artist. And quickly figured out that I needed a guitar, and borrowed one within the first month, and like just played it the entire year I was there. But yeah, that was pretty much the 90s. And then I moved, I was asked to fill in after Bundy quit Tortoise. I was asked to play with, to fill in for some shows, and ended up moving to Chicago and joining Tortoise. And then like that sort of became the rest of my 90s.
I mean, you became one of these kind of legendary session musicians in some ways, and I mean, I don't think the 90s really had that style, not necessarily like the Wrecking Crew or like the Eagles or Toto, but I mean, right. But in some ways you were, in the tradition of that, where you could be found popping up in all these different bands. Was it mostly for touring stuff, or was it how
it was mostly for shows? Yeah. Okay.
How would those conversations go? It was like, hey, we're going to do something and we need someone.
Yeah. It was exactly like that. And it's still like that to this day. It's like, when Interpol was like, we lost our bass player, like, can you do it? And which was not easy, filling in Carlos's shoes, because he was a big figure in the band, for sure. Like I always associated, he was so extroverted that I always associated him with Interpol.
Sure.
With the holster and stuff,
and the style. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
shoes to fill.
And Andy Gill was big shoes to fill too, but I think
that's like a whole other kind of world of reinvention, or something, in that sort of way of like but it's doing the band such a service just to be able to kind of get them to a place to where they can be presented. That's almost
absolutely.
You're almost in a John Mayer with Dead & Co. sort of vibe there. Like, hey, I'll sit in if that means the fans can experience this. You know what I mean?
Well, totally.
Rather than taking the focus of it, it's more like, hey, this is what gets the train back on the tracks. Let's go.
And this is also my education. This is how I learn music. It's not, I don't take guitar lessons and stuff. I just play with other people, and that's how I learn. Because even when I first started playing in the punk scene in Louisville in the whatever year it was, they, because I could play my instrument and I could play guitar, bass, or drums. I was immediately like a wanted man, because everybody needed a guitarist, a bass player, and a drummer who could actually play their instrument. And they that sounds still so condescending, but but you know what I mean? It was like
you wouldn't have to teach or sit on them for the whole time. Like you had a tasteful sort of intuition of like he would know how to fill in and fill it out.
And punk rock suddenly seemed like my family, because it was like, oh, people actually want me here, this is cool. And so I had the nickname Band Horror in Louisville, just because anytime even when Ethan's very first band, Dot 39, lost their singer, couldn't play a show because he had a test or something. He was like, can you sing? So he just gave me the lyrics, and I just came up there holding the lyrics and just screamed, like anytime anybody needed somebody, I just did it.
Oh, I love it. I was a couple years ago during the pandemic, a friend's band was going to open for Bikini Kill at the Greek, but but their guitar player had tested positive for COVID. So my friend Jennifer, the band was called Bleached. Yeah, she said, can you come learn the songs real quick in the parking lot, just so we could go on, and it was like kind of thing like,
wow, that's totally
whatever you need to do. Yeah, I'm driving over right now. I was picking the kids up from school, but hold on, I can meet you at the Greek. and go. We didn't end up playing because there was because there had been exposure to somebody that was a whole thing. But driving down, listening to all the songs, and then going in like, all right, show me what key are we in? What are the notes?
I know that feeling for sure.
I was thinking Back to the Future. It's in the key of A. Watch me for the changes.
Back to the Future. Yeah. Look at my hands, or whatever it is. He said, just watch my hands. Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't think that's too far off from Chuck Berry. I mean, Bruce Springsteen tells that story that Chuck in the '80s, Chuck Berry in the '70s and '80s would tour by himself with just a guitar, and then he would have a backup band, a bar band. And he'd get paid ahead of time. He'd come. Have you heard those stories?
I mean, I would see them in the '80s, and like all those guys, and it was that's just how those old guys did it. Like they would have a briefcase and they would walk in with an empty briefcase and walk out with 10 grand in cash before they even played. And every venue had a house band that just had to know all the songs, you know, and you just had to be ready to call them out.
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen's so what's the set list we're playing? And Chuck Berry looks at him and says, we're playing Chuck Berry music. Ready? Yeah. Here we go. Like every intro is about the same, and you got to know what the Chuck Berry swing is and the the 1-4-5. Just do it again.
You know what chord it's going to next and when.
Just keep up.
Yeah,
but he had a thing. I guess if the amp was good and if the band was good, he'd give back like $100. Like he'd get paid more in advance, and then if the amp they played through sucked or the band sucked.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This is according to Bruce Springsteen. I don't know.
But all of them did that, like Bo Diddley, all those guys. That's how they toured, you know.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I think they got shafted so many times. It was take the money and run, had to be cash, and fuck this, I'm touring with the band. Like I've already paid my dues.
This is it. I'm just showing up. The band better be good. If it's not my fault. Yeah, I showed up with my guitar.
Yeah, people are paying to see Bo Diddley. They're not seeing. You're not paying for anything else.
That's amazing. So I mean, you kind of swashbuckled your way through all these incredible bands in the '90s. I mean, I think what tour were you on with Stereolab? What record was that? Was it the Emperor Tomato Ketchup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And it was just in Europe, but it was okay. We did a lot of touring in Europe, though. It was like almost. And I was in Tortoise at the same time. So, so when I came home, I had to choose between Tortoise and Stereolab, which was like the greatest problem ever.
Because people would kill to have either one of those opportunities.
I know.
To both sitting on your plate. Yeah.
And what's funny is that, I guess around the early 90s, around 93 or something, there were only two current bands that I even liked. There was that first Tortoise record and pretty much all the Stereolab stuff that I'd heard. And those were the only two bands. I was so not into grunge and all those bands. I mean, that's when I got deeper into blues and country and stuff. It's not that I wasn't into them. It was just, to me it was just another world, and I was just discovering this newer, this old world that I was way more interesting. So I was I was really into that, and so for current bands, it was just Tortoise and Stereolab, and then to be asked to play with both of them was I think wherever you put your attention, is gonna. I mean, they say maybe this is since I moved to Southern California, I'm into manifestations and crystals and stuff.
Yes. You had a vision board back then. You went on Pinterest, you created your vision board.
Yeah.
You said, okay.
I had my vision board. Yeah. I'm not even sure what that is, but it sounds cool.
It sounds good. It sounds good. It reminds me of a manifesto, though. I would think of the Charlie Day thing from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the red lines, and that's what I imagine. That's what my vision board would be like.
Yeah, totally.
Let's connect the dots here. This is what I need. If I do this, I go here and get there. Do this. That's incredible. So then, what was the choice? How did that weigh out? Did you really have to choose, or could you do both for a while?
No, I did choose. I did choose, but it was more like I was choosing Chicago over London because I just didn't. I wasn't ready to live in London or in England again. London is pretty intense weather, but Chicago is too. But
I was going to say, Chicago, from a Southern California person, either of them sound hard. But London's just wet and rainy. I don't think you don't get that much rain. It is a drier city, Chicago.
Yeah. And I was, in both cities, I've been the coldest I've ever been in Chicago and London. But I think, Chicago is also, I think it was just America or UK is what it came down to. That's what it came down to.
That's incredible. Yeah. The amount of bars on each corner too, I think is pretty similar. I'm sure there's a whole,
exactly.
Whole sort of reason between the terrible weather and tons of bars.
Yeah, that's true.
They sort of go hand in hand. There's a causality there, maybe.
You have to drink your way through those endless rainy seasons.
Yeah, and then where does the Zwan project fall in this sort of phase? I mean,
Zwan was like early 2000s, and that was actually from, I think around the early 2000s. I found that I did a tour in Europe, and I just realized that I'd been playing like the same. I was like, oh, I'm at Le Jimmy in what city is that in France again? I'm at the same venue, in France that I've been playing at for like the past 10 years or so. Like I feel like, I wonder if this is the rest of my life. Like if I'm just going to play this venue every time I come to France. So I started getting curious about what's the other side like, like what, like this is, I'm in the music world, but I'm only seeing this one part of it. Like I've always hated the other side of it, but not from experience, So I was like, I wonder what the other side is like.
You needed some experience to validate your hate for it.
Exactly.
The major label, big music world. Like I've always just kind of hated it, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
Say, well, let me get kicked in the teeth for a while and see if it's really worth hating.
Well, that is the way I look at the world. Like if I don't have experience with something, I kind of feel like I have to experience it to know for myself, which is kind of fucked up, in a way. But I don't know. I guess that's the only way I can know something for sure sometimes. And so when I was asked to be in Zwan, I was like, okay, because I was like, I want to see what that world is like. And yeah, I kind of figured out that I wasn't into it.
But was that something that Billy Corgan and Matt were sort of already putting together was that sort of their idea? Like, let's, instead of doing a Pumpkins thing or a solo thing, what if we, it was, I don't know. I only see it from the outside, I'm just curious.
Oh,
how that was sort of put together. Like, was Billy Corgan trying to slum it, or was this a reinvention?
It was partly slumming it, I think, but I think mostly he wanted to, like, with the Pumpkins dissolving, and I think the vibe was so dark that he wanted to do something really positive, with like new players and stuff. But he wanted it to look like the Pumpkins from a distance.
Oh no,
no, he didn't actually say that, but I kind of pieced that together on my own,
Well, but I mean, speaking to like a Chuck Berry or a Buddy Guy kind of thing, it's like you're there to see the guy. I mean, he could have just gone out with the Billy Corgan with one guitar and pickup bands.
Totally,
but times had changed to where there was an identification of other players. There was some awareness of what a band it was versus a bar band. So he wanted that indie version of a bar band, maybe.
I think he just wanted something that wasn't gonna just suck his soul into darkness, Okay. Because I think he just wanted something positive, honestly, and
it's hilarious.
That's why like Zwan has like brighter colors and stuff, and the songs are a little more positive, I think, or happier. And like I was in LA mastering Whatever Mortal, and Sweeney was in LA auditioning bass players for Zwan, which wasn't called Zwan yet, but they'd gone through like 30 bass players or something, and I was jokingly I was like, oh, you're playing with Corgan? Like, let me in on that shit, like.
Sure. Again, why not? It's an opportunity. You don't know what that's like.
Yeah, I thought it would be. I thought
different ends of Chicago. The Pumpkin Chicago and the Tortoise Chicago. Different sides.
Yeah. I just wanted to see another side of the music world, I think, and but I think I was receptive, but I was totally joking when I said that, and he was like, well, come on, we're staying at the at the Chateau Marmont, like come down and. We're just auditioning bass players. Come down, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" Their pool is amazing. Can I swim? And he was like, "Yeah, come down and use our pool." So I showed up in a swimsuit, like with my swim trunks and like a towel. And Billy Corgan answered the door to Matt's room, and I actually wasn't sure what he looked like. And I was like, "Oh hey," and like met him and stuff. And he started telling me about the band, and I was. I did, and Jimmy Chamberlain was there and stuff. And I was like, okay, I still wasn't quite understanding what was going on.
You're like,
but I saw there was
pool?
Yeah, I was literally just there for the pool. I was waiting to go swimming. And then like, I saw there was a guitar lying around and I was like, oh yeah, because I saw the Pumpkins like 6 times. When I was on the side stage with King Kong, playing drums. We were the first band on the side stage of Lollapalooza, and Pumpkins were the last band on the main stage. So we did this tour with them, and like I would be playing drums with King Kong. That's where I met Stereolab, because they were also on the side stage.
Okay. Was that the 95 Lollapalooza? No, 94?
I think it was earlier than 90. Okay. Yeah, I think it was 94. Nick Cave was on it. It was great. Okay. The Buddhist monks. But it was like... But I would literally be playing drums while they were opening while people were walking in, like they just opened the gate, Yeah. So it was to an empty field.
Entrance music. Yeah.
Yeah. And Pumpkins would be on the other side, but I'd go and watch them trying to figure out like why does everyone like this so much? Every night that was my, why is everyone so excited? Trying to figure them out. But I remember like there was a lot of guitar solos for the Pumpkins. So anyway, I saw this guitar.
Metal. Again, another like closeted metal fan or not so closeted,
Totally, yeah.
Metal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a shredder. But I remember there was just a guitar lying around, so I just picked it up while he was talking, and I was like, and this is like what I did when I was a kid. Like I would, you walked into. There wasn't Guitar Center then when I was a little bit you'd walk into guitar stores and you would shred and like everyone would kind of gather around to be like, oh, look at the little kid that can really play. So I was like going to do that. I was like, I'm going to show off. And so I started doing all my Yngwie Malmsteen stuff, like Unplugged and stuff. And I saw Jimmy look at Billy just like, this fucking guy can play, man. Look at him. We
got a ringer here.
Yeah. And so without an audition, I got the bass playing gig. Just from doing that, like I didn't realize it, but they were like, we want to play with you and all this stuff. And then when we got paused, I switched to third guitar. So it was it kind of fell into place like that. But I remember leaving the Chateau Marmont with my talent being like, fuck, I didn't swim.
Mission not accomplished.
I know, totally.
I got in this band, but I'm not going to be able to swim. And then was Billy familiar with Slint or with your other work? Like, did he cop to that at all?
He did know Slint, okay. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good.
He had a funny story about listening to Slint, actually having them turn it off because it was creeping him out so much. But they were doing some weird voyeuristic thing in the dark. I forgot, like spying through somebody's window, and Slint was playing, and he was like, "Can you turn this?" Because it was making the moment even more creepy.
Oh no!
I love hearing Slint stories, like people listening to Spiderland, and like your story about people trying it on and being.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the fact. Yeah, I mean, I definitely got called out for it. But I like that. Yeah, that you were able to out creep the Corrigan. Creep. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I can pretty much out creep.
Was it really relatively amicable? I mean, I just imagine the man just seems like a black hole of ego and narcissism. So I just don't understand how long. I could see the charm of the narcissist for the first maybe 6 months, and then it just goes downhill into everything's my way all the time, and no one can satisfy whatever his dad complex is. Kind of stuff. I have to imagine that would eventually kick in at some point.
I mean, he was in a pretty good place at that time. Like, I think he really did just want to do something that was uplifting. And so I was all there. I was there for that, Yeah. And so it was really fun at first. And his arrogance or whatever, like, I thought was hilarious. Like, I would just laugh my ass off. Even though I knew he wasn't joking, I still laughed, Like, I thought it was really
this is
funny.
Unreal. Like, blot out the sun.
Yeah. Like, even though he wasn't laughing with me, like, I thought it was so funny. But then after a while, you just start to see the cruelty in it, and it's not as funny anymore. And so, so I guess the joke kind of wore off for me personally. I don't want to talk shit about him, but we did fall out for sure. I mean, he talked a lot of shit about me in the press, but
that's nice of him, right? It's always good to have a large multi-million selling rock star come down to shit on the younger or the other class. Punching down, I think they call it. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, there's nothing anybody could do to me. I feel like,
but it just feels like, it was one of those kind of things that was, from an outsider's perspective, it was like, he's trying to buy credibility, once his band, his major label band kind of cooked out. And like, what if I get with these cool indie guys? Maybe I can slum it and get something, get something going there. But but I don't know beyond that, like where it sort of went. It seemed like.
But I think that kind of backfired too, because like those fans don't really like the stuff that Matt and I have done. Like most of those Zwan fans. I mean, some of them definitely were like, it opened up a whole new world for them. So, which was cool. And I still like talk to some of those people, like those fans.
That first discovered you and your career through the Zwan connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. You can't fight that.
But there were only a few.
That's the best part, right? I mean, I'm sure you've been in a million situations where you're the opening band and you kind of try to do the math. Yeah. You try to do the math in your head. You're like, okay, well, there's 10,000 people out there. Like, say, like if 100 of them like bought our record, like that would be worth it. That's a small percentage. Maybe 5 buy the record, and then you kind of you're like, nobody bought the record. Nobody cared we were there. We had more. If anything, we probably annoyed people who might have liked us, but because we played before this other band and it didn't sound good, we had no sound check, and we're all tired and groggy and not playing our best, we probably lost more fans opening up for these larger bands.
Totally,
we killed that opportunity for them to ever discover us and actually like us. Like, oh, fuck those guys. They opened for that other band. I'm never going to listen to them. They suck.
Totally.
Because you're put at such compromised ends as an opening band on those bigger tours, whether it's lack of lights or intro, what I mean? But you're just forced to go up there and, like you say, perform to empty seats, and then you're just like, well,
yeah,
okay.
It's so funny. I mean, I had the opening band experience at the last show I played, or the last M show where we opened for the Hard Quartet. Like we practiced like crazy, and I was like, "Oh, we'll play this song, and the M fans will love it because I've never played it live before," and all this stuff. Turns out, like I totally forgot. Oh yeah, we're just opening. The ticket prices are expensive. Nobody's there to see me, and like literally, like after. I mean, I was just my normal weird self. Like the first thing I said before we even played a note was like, "Does anybody know what Steve Miller from the Steve Miller Band looks like?" Like just because that was what was on my mind at that second. Yeah. And then as I was walking off the stage after our set, somebody at the front, like who had been, I quickly noticed that everyone that was up front was like yawning and like couldn't wait for me to get off stage. Like there was a girl who was like, "What is your band even called?" And I was like, "Oh
Steve
my
Miller
God."
Band.
Yeah, I should have said that. I think I just said, "Google it."
Yeah. Abracadabra. Look it up. Yeah. It's great. It's the best. No, I remember for years and years being in those situations, and people would miss it and like, "Oh, how was your set?" And like, "Oh," and I would just lie. Like, it was the best. Everybody loved us. It was the best set ever. We had more people. We had more fans than the headlining band. Everyone loved us. Oh, I wished I made it there. I was like, you don't know. Nobody was fucking there to see us. Like, we were horrible. But I'm just going to tell the lie because I want to believe that either. I was going to believe it myself. Yeah. Like, it's a positive affirmation. Like, we're amazing.
Oh man, if you can play a good show for yourself and your friends, like then that's all that matters to me. Yeah. Like that, then if it's a good show for those people, then it's a success. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, the world of low standards is a very satisfying place to
I know. Yeah.
Or realistic standards, I should say, not low.
Keep them low, and you don't, and you end up just happier in general.
That's it.
No expectations.
That's
and
it.
You'll have less depression, crushing depression. Yeah.
You realize, you're only a failure in your own mind.
Yeah.
If you're it's your expectations to either hit or miss.
Yeah.
So you can just change that. I mean, that was us for years too. Just keeping the nut low. Like, okay, if we all live, in a 1-bedroom apartment, we could split $500 rent, 2, 3, 4, or 5 ways, and then you don't have to make much in order to actually say you're a professional musician.
Yeah.
If we can play a couple shows and make a couple $100, pay the rent, then there we go. That was that's all I have to do for a job.
It's weird that you can even call yourself a professional musician because you got paid once, from playing music.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like does that mean if you're busking and you get money, I don't know.
Sure.
Are they professional musicians now?
Sure.
Or,
yeah. I think in this day and age, there's so little money in music that anybody that comes in is considered professional. There's probably buskers that make more than people that that are on the record labels that have stuff on Spotify.
Totally.
I mean, someone drops a $5 bill in your case, you're doing better than anything on Spotify. You'll get paid, for years. So
yeah. That's right.
It's not. It's again another low bar to pass.
Yeah. The low bar approach to success. That's the book I'll write.
Keeping your expectations low.
Yeah. You can be broke and be successful.
That's it. It's all in your mind.
Yeah.
Success is in your mind. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you, David, so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Where do you want people to follow you and find out more? How do people see what you're up to?
Oh, man. I mean, pretty much my Instagram is my only connection to the world.
It's the portal in to the Pajo world. What's your handle?
It's Cesar David Pajo, which is CESTCADAVIDPAJO. Lots of letters. Yeah.
There it is. Awesome, man. And the record's out, and it's.
I think it's out. Yeah, I think it's out now. Well, we're supposed to tour next month, but I canceled it. I want to do like a proper full band tour, like the U.S. and Europe and stuff, and
a little bit more time, sort of pull it together.
Yeah. And
it's hard. It's hard touring right now.
I know, it's really, and it's been a while since I've done it. Like, where someone else wasn't doing all the work, Mm-hmm. It's, and I like it. I like it, but it's, we'll eventually get our butts out the door. But I want to do it right. And the band, the LA based band, or mostly LA based that I have right now is really awesome. I really want people to hear them. So
that's great. Did they play on the record with you, or is this all, did you play everything on the record?
I played everything on the record, but, they play better than I did.
That must be nice. Yeah. To kind of hear it reflected back to you, like, that's what I should have done. You guys nailed it. Like,
I mean, that's for the M stuff. Like, the recordings are always just like the blueprints for the live band to sort of take off from. So, I'm never super faithful to the recorded versions, but
awesome. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, everyone can go to dragcity.com, right? Isn't that their website still?
Mm-hmm.
Dragcity.com, and buy the records there. And then it's also out on the streamers and everywhere else too. And then keep an eye out, follow you on Instagram for tour updates.
Man, thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. This is great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah. You're very welcome.
I'm not worthy. Nerd time. Hopefully, I did not embarrass myself too badly or nerd out too hard on Mr. Pajo. If I sound like I kept it together, cool, calm, collected, it was all an illusion. That is my own Harry Houdini feat I was able to pull off there. Please do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Do everybody a favor. Do the world a favor and go to dragcity.com and buy everything there. Just go ahead, max out your credit card, everything they got on the online store. You'll be a better person for it. The world would be a better place if you own all of these records. However, if you need to pick one artist to buy everything of the whole catalog purchase, Papa M will not do you wrong. David Pajo has an incredible discography under the name Papa M. He also has his own last name Pajo for a handful of projects, as well as a million other things that he has been a member of, Slint including. So, Dan, that one's for you. Go raid the Drag City back catalog. They have it in print. They have it for sale there. I've seen it with my own eyes. I guarantee you, it's worth doing. Supporting Drag City is never a bad idea, and supporting David Pajo sounds like just as great of an idea at this point in our life, right? I appreciate everyone being here. Thanks for hanging out. I hope your holidays are going good. I hope your New Year's plans are exciting and mind-blowing and don't involve blowing any limbs off of yourself or your loved ones. But if they do, hey, it's your prerogative. It's your life, man. Those are your fingers. You do with them what you want to. It's your freedom to to blow whatever fingers off you want to in celebration of a new year beginning. Yeah, we will see what 2025 has to bring, right? It's exciting. I will see you all back here in podcast world on next Monday. And yeah, be safe. Go forward with love and have a great time. Adios for now. Bye.
I think people forget that all the punks like to dance. You know, Ian MacKaye loves to dance.